Thinking of five types of evidence that I would collect to send to a laboratory from a crime scene, I would start by thinking about the physical evidence. These would be the tools, weapons, shell casings, anything of that nature physically that was left behind at the crime scene that might be used in the scene reconstruction. The second type of evidence I would consider would be trace evidence, fingerprints, markings, footprints, anything of that nature that was left behind by the suspect and the people involved that could trace back to him and also help in the reconstructing exactly what happened at the scene. The third type of evidence I would consider would be biological evidence, sources of DNA. This can include blood, but not necessarily blood spatter. Blood spatter might be its own kind of evidence because blood spatter patterns can be used in their own way for crime scene reconstruction. Blood samples, or in cases of rape scenes, seminal samples would be used to collect DNA samples from the suspects and other people that were at the scene. And I would call them their own type of evidence as biological evidence. Blood spatter analysis would be another type of evidence that I would identify as its own because it can create its own pattern that can be analyzed from the lab's perspective. And to collect this, you might take a picture of it. You might bring the crime scene technician to the scene and have them do their own sketch diagram that can be further analyzed back at the lab. But after blood spatter patterns analysis, I would go on to consider fiber evidence. These can be items left behind by the they can be left behind by the clothing or whatever carpeting a suspect might have taken with them to the crime scene. And these won't necessarily trace directly back to the suspect, but they might become classic characteristics of items that are related to the suspect. So in some cases, you may be able to identify a suspect by a common kind of carpet that was found at the scene and was also found later at the suspect's house, and that can be useful when considering fiber evidence.